Today's session is following up the other forums we've had on the triangle. In terms of, in a sense, this is the second one of this series, and that is a diagram. Oops. Yeah. And last week we spoke about the decision side of the triangle, which is there. This week we're talking about the base. In a sense, the top of the triangle is reflection and the bottom of the triangle is action. And that is a terminology, though not the triangle, his own terminology that Mary's brother Alan uses in his work with in education. So in this session, I'm talking about the part of the triangle that is action. It is called accepted and rejected efforts. And for people who've been around Pellin at other times, that is probably the part of this material that people might remember. One way of looking at the triangle is it's about succeeding. If we just take a moment to revise, when we're looking at the series of forums on resistance and nourishing change, essentially we're looking at how we fail. The other recent series on pride was how we survive. The triangle is about how we succeed. One of the things I just want to take a moment to repeat, maybe this is for, people who might find the forum on the internet or looking at what's happening in Pellin. With a triangle, I think it's really important. It's important for me to remember. I think it's important for other people to remember as well. It's just how different in many ways that work is. And that is because David was simply different. One of the consequences of his difference, if I can put it that way, is the range of applications that are possible with a Pellin material. And that's particularly true of this material today. We have a range of possibilities in terms of applying the material that's almost universal, can almost be applied. The tools can almost be applied to any situation. And that's a large claim. At the same time, we balance that statement with, we know Pellin's not for everyone. It'll appeal to some people and not to others. We don't all go on the same vacation. We don't all listen to the same music. But for the people to whom Pellin does make more sense, I think we can approach it with the ambition, confidence, that there is a kind of universal nature to these tools. You can apply them to a whole lot of different situations. And that's one of the things we'll be looking at today. That is so often the case with this work. while I'm saying here that the tools are almost universal, when David developed them, they're really quite specific. You know, he started working with young adults who'd been into drink, drugs, and prison when he was squatting, literally, in a storefront on 4th Avenue, Vancouver, which at that time was a sort of upmarket Skid Row. Now it's just upmarket. It is the fashionable Kitsilano, one of the most desired areas in Vancouver. So in the half century that we've been using this material, particular place where it started has gone through, I think you could call, it's called Kits, short for Kitsilano. I think you could call Kits extreme gentrification. It is very fashionable. And it's lovely. It's lovely, lovely part of Vancouver. He had the task, and these young adults found him, okay? You know, they're in this sort of Skid Row area and they're wandering around, and there was this sort of door open of this guy inside. And say, you know, come in. That's literally where it started. And yeah, the bit I'm trying to get at, his population, his purpose of developing the triangle was quite specific. How do the young people, young adults he's working with, how do they get through school? You know, how do they finish their education? So he very much developed the triangle in terms of helping people succeed in study courses. This was literally the start of it. And now I feel the triangle has applications all over the place. You know, it's got clear applications in people having trouble, I'll use that word, succeeding at work with jobs, as parents in a marriage. You know, the triangle has applications to all those things. It's certainly got clear applications with gentler therapeutic words, the same words in sex therapy. You know, when people are having trouble in their relationship with lovemaking, it is about sex not being an accepted effort. I know that makes it a little bit stark and awkward, but it's true. It's really true. And in the work that one of the ways I've directed, you know, my interest in the forum and my continuing interest in the relationship between therapy and politics, you know, the part we're presenting today, accepted and rejected efforts, has sort of real application. You know, as does our parallel basic diagram, the pendulum, but, you know, just concentrating today on the triangle, putting, you know, in a sense, putting the pendulum aside and putting our feelings aside. The pendulum's all about feelings, the triangle's all about doing. I mean, that's the basic balance of these two fundamental diagrams. You know, keeping the political energy going in the face of not succeeding or not seeing that there's, to use, to look back at our material on hope, not feeling there's much hope around, is, how do you make the hard slog an accepted effort? And this material's got absolute applications there. And one of the ways I think that that particular example of politics and political campaigns is sort of useful is because, in a way, there's nothing new about this material. Common sense, intuitively, people know, what are we going to do to keep everybody still campaigning? And of course, we can see, and we've looked at it other times, how relevant the pendulum is to that, because even a successful campaign will have a low after the high. But a campaign that did not succeed will certainly have a low after the high. So how do you handle the low so you don't give up? And that touches on the material we've looked at in terms of pride. But just bring it in today. So there's a whole lot of common sense in this. And the way I talk about common sense, the unconscious accumulation of human intuitive wisdom over time. So, you can say a really good politician, a really good campaign manager has unconsciously and consciously accumulated a lot of intuitive wisdom over time. And Joe Biden is a reflection of that. There's a way that, this might sound audacious, but there's a way that if Joe Biden heard this material, I can imagine him saying, yeah, that's the way it is, that's the way it goes. You've got to keep things going when things are rough. And his political career is a demonstration of the Pellin tools, from the triangle to the pendulum. So talking directly about accepted and rejected efforts, the base of the triangle, the bottom of it, okay. Here, there to there, going that way. Accepted effort is something we enjoy doing. I know I've touched on this recently, but just going over it again. Like the pendulum, this is a simple tool. Once you grasp it, then it's the question of are you going to practice with it? Accepted efforts are when we accept the effort we're putting in. We know the goal, and we're saying here that the goal is the arm of the pendulum. So the effort is going towards a goal which has been set by the decision. The accepted effort is when we accept the energy we're putting in. We accept the moment-to-moment activity that we have to engage in. We use the word, we're enjoying it, but as I've said before, we might be in an accepted effort that in fact is very painful. And with respect, I use the example of childbirth. is painful and an accepted effort. Mountain climbing is a more mundane one, or running a marathon, the last miles or the last feet in climbing the mountain, the last miles and completing the marathon are going to be very, very painful. But at the same time, there is an enjoyment and acceptance in that pain. Of course, there are particular examples. A lot of accepted efforts are just, when we're enjoying what we're doing, we're enjoying the job, we're enjoying the task. To use that example, we're enjoying lovemaking, we're enjoying raising the kids, we're enjoying the mundaneness at times of raising children. We're in that accepted effort. And what we are saying with this material is the accepted effort will take you to the goal. If you can maintain being in the accepted effort, or it will take you to the goal, or probably a more, that might be too general, too absolute a statement. It will give you your best shot at reaching the goal. Maybe external factors come in and you can't get there. Someone's climbing a mountain and they just don't have the ability to get to the top. Or someone's climbing a mountain and there's a blizzard, so they don't get to the top. So I want to be careful when I say the accepted effort will get you to the goal. And again, it's a tool. So the way I'm teaching it here is, yes, but teaching is always a little broad brush, okay? Yeah, Cynthia.
I just saw something when you were saying that. I don't know if this was safe, but I was saying with even though you may not get to the goal with an accepted effort, it's almost guaranteed you won't get there if you don't have accepted effort.
Pardon me? Yeah, absolutely. And that's where we get into the rejected effort in a moment. You won't get there if you're not in an accepted effort. And that is a bit, again, I don't want to be too absolute, but that's, that's pretty absolute statement. When we get to it, the rejected effort is a no-win place to be, to put it simply. And I think when we're in the accepted effort and we don't reach the goal as the goal was set at the beginning, okay? But we will have the satisfaction of going through the process, okay? Someone gets halfway up the mountain, that might be fine. So if we're in, maybe I can put it this way, one of the powers of the accepted effort, we can accept, it's the right word, that the goal might change. Yeah, these forums are a good example of that. I started them in the face of COVID. A bunch of people came. I wanted to develop a particular part of Pellin that I was still called the Pellin Lift. Thank you, Mary. It's still in the newsletter to get out into the world. Okay, that hasn't quite been, the way it's developed. It's a few of us now, and we're sort of, in rather intensely studying the material. But I'm still in the accepted effort, and I accept the changed goal. So if we're in the accepted effort, we will have a flexibility, a sanity, almost the calm of the pendulum around the need to reassess the goals, and that's Wednesday's material. Yeah, it won't be that big a deal. When we're in the rejected effort, we're almost fixated on the goal. You know, if I can't get to the goal as I defined it, as I had the expectation on myself, as other people had the expectation on me, I haven't achieved the goal. Therefore, I'm, well, to use the phrase I'm saying about the pendulum, therefore I am not succeeding. Just to stay with the accepted effort for a moment, there are a couple of, so one of the things we come out of this material with is, you know, we need to protect accepted efforts. They are so valuable in our life. And we need to protect them against pendulum swings. We need to protect them against attraction to hurt. And we need to protect them against two things that are particular to this material on the triangle. And one of them is in staying in the accepted effort too long. And Joe Biden said this recently about politics. He said it's all about timing. And to some way, the accepted effort is all about timing, you know, knowing when to stop. And the other thing we say is one of the ways we can turn an accepted, so one of the ways we can turn an accepted effort into a rejected effort is to stay in the accepted effort too long. You know, if we stay at a job too long, it's too harshly. If we stay in a job too long, if we stay in a marriage too long, when somehow or other it should come to an end, the goal's not going to be reached. But we've got a lot of accepted effort about the job or the marriage. You know, we feel in a lot of ways good about it. It's been a good time of our life. But if it flips into being a rejected effort, then our feeling about the whole thing can become negative. Our feeling about the whole marriage can become a negative. Our feeling about the whole job can become negative. And that was simply because we stayed there too long. And, you know, just taking this material to, the advanced level we're at, you can see where perseverance strata. It's a way of explaining the danger of a high perseverance strata. We're saying something too long, it wasn't accepted effort, it becomes a rejected effort, and then we're stuck in the rejected effort. Rejected effort, Dave called the rejected effort the killer of the soul. You know, it's a place that can be extremely dangerous. I guess it's the place really where a lot of good therapy resides, you know, helping people not get stuck in rejected efforts. Just to go back to the accepted effort, some of the characteristics of the accepted effort, we like what Cynthia.
Just could you go back? You said there was two other things that you needed to protect. You said besides pendulum swing attraction or hurt, you said one of the things you need to protect it from is staying in too long. And you said there was not one more, but you didn't say what that one more was.
Thank you. The other one is what we call goal orientation, is being sort of focusing on the goal. You know, rather than, because the accepted effort, at times we call it the Zen of doing, The accepted effort is sort of now. So the goal is there, but it needs to be in the background, and the foreground needs to be us accepting that which we are currently doing.
Thank
so
you.
they're the two things I was saying there. Staying in it too long and goal orientation, okay? And they can turn an accepted effort into a rejected effort. So I was talking about rejected efforts and how, nasty a place it is. We have the goal, but we can't enjoy those activities which we need to engage in to get to the goal. We can't accept them. And in a sense, we can't accept the energy that this entails. The classic example of sorry, I just lost my thread of thought. It'll come back. The rejected effort, oh yeah, I know. The classic example of the difference between them, when we're in the accepted effort, we don't notice the effort we're putting in and time passes. Oh, 5 o'clock. I thought it was only 3 o'clock. That's almost a classic example of accepted effort. And I feel energized by what I'm doing, not tired, even though I put out a lot of effort and energy, but I'm energized by the activity. The rejected effort is the reverse of that. I thought it was 5 o'clock. No, it's only 3:45. Time flying by or clock watching. Almost, they're pretty good examples of, they're pretty good, almost definitions. The accepted effort is when time flies by, and the rejected effort is when we're clock watching and time drags. One of the ways that the rejected effort is such a destructive place is that we become negative, we put ourselves down, we put other people down. And we sort of can't get out of it. There's almost a sort of vicious circle between being in a rejected effort, then the attraction of hurt coming in, then destructive pendulum swings happen. And then that just reinforces the rejected effort. It can be hard to get out of. And I stay with his word, although in some ways it's perhaps not strong enough. David talks about we turn rejected efforts into accepted efforts by finding gimmicks. And I think he used the word gimmick to indicate that very often we need to pull something in from the outside, okay? We need to do something to pull, we need something to bring good feelings, positive feelings into what we're doing. And, and again, it's, you know, it's got that sort of common sense quality. A lot of people know this, do this. What we provide in contribution training in the Pellin tools, we provide a structure, a framework around that which people already know. But, you know, people who bring donuts to the committee meeting or flowers to the office. I'm a little bit embarrassed about this, but I have turned writing from an accepted effort, from a rejected effort into an accepted effort. And that is some of my collection of colored pens, okay? And that's not all of them. And but you know, that is, oops, which way do I need to go? That way. That is a direct example of, you know, okay, how do I make my writing enjoyable for me? How do I make it easy to start? And, you know, my colored pens and colored inks really work. And I think the useful, you know, we probably need to use other words as well, but I think the usefulness of the word gimmick is like, well, for me, you know, don't be shy about using something that'll work for you. Cynthia.
Actually, yes, having that thing of gimmicks actually has really helped me right now because, you know, for a while, a lot of things have become rejected efforts. And one of the things that I did actually was years ago, I've been doing this for years. It's this thing called, that now they call it, they used to call it the habit role-playing game, but now it's Habitica. They made it into a world. And basically, it's the setup they have that sort of turns your life into a role-playing game. And you get experience points and all these things by doing tasks. But I had gotten bored with it for a while, and I actually had felt kind of embarrassed because some other people did with me, but nobody got into it the way I did. You know, because I love to strategize and do other things, and you know, and I felt kind of embarrassed, and you know, and I was trying to like wean myself off of it, and then I, you know, and then it, because I've been doing it for years. You know, if I've accumulated all this stuff, but what I did, and I'm kind of proud of myself, and I try not to go into all the details because I'll bore everybody, but I rearranged my whole habit. I rearranged it because, so I got rid of all, I found a way to sort of pull out all the stuff I've accumulated that was no longer feeling like a reward anymore. So I just did a whole lot of things. Like I sold a bunch of stuff, and I talked to my spouse about it, and I also I found a way I would convert my gold, all the gold I've accumulated, pulling it out of there and get to use it as spending money, you know, convert it to
Yeah.
if I need to buy things. And and then now it's become fun again, and actually that was the interesting thing. We were talking about doing it too long. Part of how it became fun was I got rid of the stuff I had way too much of. I found a way to use it up and get rid of it. And so now it was fun to get them. Like you have, one of the things is you have little, you can hatch pets. And you get like drops with eggs and foods, and then you feed them and they become mounts, and you could have cute little avatars. And I think I got back into it, about embarrassing, because for spring they had polka dot hatching potions for sale, so you could have polka dot pets and mounts. And that got me way back into all of it again. So so anyways, so I guess and you know, having the concept of gimmick is really helpful because I don't have to feel embarrassed that I need a
Yeah.
role playing game to do any to do my
Yeah.
life.
No, I think that's a bit, because I guess there often is something very, very idiosyncratic, very quirky, that'll help people turn a rejected effort into an accepted effort. Now, I want to say a little bit in a minute about sort of methodology and jargon. I don't want to forget that. And some of us um, and I am, you know, I can be shy about or reticent. Some of it's sort of baggage, to use the, you know, conventional phrases from, you know, my marriages. Oh, you don't want to do that, or that won't work, you know, a critical voice. And, you know, as Mary and Nikki know, I've got a critical voice in my head that I didn't grow up with. Self-critical. Be quite devastating, okay? And to say, even here to say, well, I wanted to buy a box set of those novels, and there are 20 of them, and I know that's going to help me with my work, okay? And even here, you know, my sort of friends and supporters, you know, I have a bit of a hard trouble saying that. And they're the novel set in Sicily, by an author called Camilleri. They're on BBC iPlayer. In England, they're on something called BBC iPlayer. Yeah, they're a long television series, Italian television series. They're set in southern Italy. I'm sorry, they're set in Sicily. And so they give me a real sort of, just an experience of the southern Italy I love so much. But, you know, the relationship between those novels and my writing, or those novels and some of my plans about Pellin, I know it's there. And I think the word gimmicks is useful because I think many of us need to look to the unusual. And, you know, some gimmicks are like hobbies, but hobbies has got a funny sort of connotation. And gimmicks is a straight jargon word. I think it's really useful. You want to come in tomorrow at all?
Yeah. Geez, I don't know if we can apply this in any way at all, but I'm actually thinking of a client and not myself. And he feels there should be a goal that he go to the next level of commitment and intimacy in his relationship with the woman he's been with for 4 years. But I wonder about self-sabotage in order to make a decision or change a goal that he's not really in alignment with. So, for example, getting drunk and cheating with a woman, and a really important time for them in their relationship. Does that fit in anywhere here with rejected efforts, accepted efforts, goals?
Well, yeah, I think one of the ways the triangle is useful, and I'm sort of saying it can be applied to almost anything, okay? And I think it could, you know, how does this person make sort of calm time with, you know, his partner, acceptable, and accepted effort, how, and you know, accepted, the triangle's got huge, I didn't even mention them earlier, but it's got huge applications to substance abuse, any substance abuse. You know, how does someone make quitting an accepted effort? In a way, that's the question, okay? You know, the goal might be pretty easy. You know, I want to quit. But how do you make the day-to-day of that an accepted effort? And then, because given it's a rejected effort, you know, and then I think it's, you know what, we'll stay with that word, you know, what gimmicks can I bring in to do that? What gimmicks can I bring in so I'm just quiet and calm and affectionate in my relationship, rather than, if I correct me if I'm wrong, tomorrow, but you know, rather than just yelling. I mean, if you took the tools, you know, if you applied them in a certain sort of wonky way, you know, the goal is to destroy the relationship, and you know, being nasty in a number of ways is an accepted effort. I mean, that's sort of, I don't know, the tools in a way.
No yelling. Everything is incredibly smooth. And so I think it's difficult for him to say no or disappoint or not feel guilty. So he acts out in his own time. And I think is forcing the issue with himself by feeling so badly and hoping to get caught.
How do you mean?
Oh, well, in cheating, right? Cheating on the girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't know how that, it seems to me like you say, like you have to change the goal, or if you can't get all the way up the mountain, then you don't just bury that with rejected efforts. You know, if there's a blizzard up there, if you're not able or capable, then to change the goal instead of the rejected efforts, which I see him creating. And I think it's a way of trying to push the goal that he's not comfortable with out of his life, you know, because he doesn't want to be in a committed relationship, but he can't say so.
Yeah, there's a very stark way of looking at this that might be helpful, and that is, if you can't get out of the rejected effort, you know, if you really try and get help, but you just can't get out of the rejected effort, maybe the goal's just wrong, okay? And that literally is the stuff we're going to look at on Wednesday. You know, and then it's a question of changing the goals, adapting the goal, because if someone's in a sort of nourishing place, okay, they get halfway up the mountain, and it's been accepted effort. The blizzard comes in, or someone just, you know, it's beyond them. You know, they don't have the skills or the fitness to do the other bit. Well, and yeah, in the first example of the blizzard, well, then the goal is to survive the blizzard, right? And I think if someone's really into mountain climbing or extreme sport, which a lot of people in Vancouver, in British Columbia, Canada are, so I know about. Well, then the goal is surviving the blizzard. And that becomes an accepted effort. It's an extreme example, but it becomes an accepted effort. And then the memory of it, you know, taking this material further down, the memory of it, yeah, we didn't get to the top, but remember when we came through that blizzard. So bringing this into someone who's, so it's not sort of self-destructive, someone who's not trying to climb the mountain to kill themselves, okay? But I guess there are people who do. I mean, people take too many risks in the extreme sports. That's common knowledge in Vancouver, Canada, and common knowledge in parts of California. You know, that you don't surf there, or you don't surf in those weather conditions, or you don't climb a mountain in those weather conditions, or you don't fly a small plane into wilderness country when so that's someone who, you know, the goal is all wonky, and that's why I guess the triangle is a lot about deciding on goals, assessing goals, doing them. But I think it's the part which was sort of last week's material. Let me try this tomorrow. Which is about, you know, how we're making the decision. So I guess it's having an awareness of what the goal is. And if the goal is somehow or other to make the relationship not work, to sabotage the relationship, well, then we bring in the part of the triangle that's not the base so much, but it's the assessment, decisions and assessment. And I guess if doing the things that are destructive are an accepted effort, then we got something to look at, don't we?
Yes.
Then we got something to look at.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's true for me. It is sort of an accepted effort to be muddled because some part of me, and that's where I wanted to get on a little bit about methodology, there's some part of me that wants to sabotage my own success. So I can be surprisingly, and that's sort of, you know, it's organizational abuse, not substance abuse.
Yeah.
Cynthia.
Yeah, that's interesting what you're talking about self-sabotage, because that's something that I've struggled with a lot. And you know, like I have a goal, and I
I
mean
missed
sometimes
the first bit you said, sorry.
about self-sabotage
Yeah.
and rejected efforts, and it
Yeah.
is you know, and that's a thing for, you know, for me, like, you know, I want to go somewhere, all of a sudden it's like I have a goal, but then, you know, then I'll do something. Is that because of memory? I mean, why? Or I guess that's part of the assessment part, whether if you're sabotaging, is it because it's the wrong goal? Is it because you've got things going on inside, like memory links or fears or that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's the bit when I said I wanted to not forget to say something about methodology, okay? Because this is, you know, one use of the triangle and one use of the jargon, accepted and rejected efforts, is just saying, okay, this is a rejected effort. How can I turn it into an accepted effort? What are the gimmicks? You know, how can I be imaginative, creative, get external support to turn the rejected effort into an accepted effort, okay? So, I mean, just in terms of the field, It's the behavioral part of Pellin, okay? And there is a power in just doing that, not going into the memory links, not going into the whys or wherefore, but just, this is a rejected effort. I'm going to try and turn it into an accepted effort. And I think it's the one of the two places I'm attracted to jargon is it gives us a distance from our hurt and pain, okay? So we're just looking at, okay, how can Peter make the organizing and accepted effort, and what are the gimmicks he's got, and could we build on them? Okay, so that's a use of this tool. But parallel to that is all the material about memory links, and that's where we are, formally an integration of psychodynamic, behavioral, and humanistic strands in the helping professions. That's not the same as the official and unofficial strand. I think I need to use the word schools there, so we don't have a confusion, going ahead. Pellin is an integration of psychodynamic, behavioral, and humanistic schools in the helping professions and psychotherapy. So we're not saying, oh, we've got the behavioral bit, we got the triangle, so we never look at the memory links. We're saying, hey, they're just different tools to be using at different times. And certainly, if we have, whatever, to touch on other work we've done here, if we've got a characteristic way of sabotaging ourselves, that's attraction to hurt. That's attraction to hurt, and that's callousing. Because one of the things that sort of strikes in my mind is, because as you know, and here, I don't like the psychiatric and psychotherapeutic categories. Okay, that's just me. Other people do. Other people like them, and a very close advisor of mine, is quite sure that I've got ADD, I've got attention deficit disorder, and it's one way of looking at it. Okay, it's the sort of truth line. I've got my bit, she's got her bit, and one of the things that she said to me, she said, Peter, you've got to take into account how your ADD hurts other people. It doesn't just hurt you, it hurts other people. And yeah, that's been a sort of really big piece of feedback for me. So, and that's the callousing part of the attraction to hurt, right? The attraction to hurt is being disorganized and appearing to be unreliable. I'm really not. I'm sort of unreliable, really little short-term bits, over long periods of time. Pellin's always there for somebody. We don't go away. We don't close doors. But the callous around that, and so that is we would certainly say there's no way. This is just one tool. It can be very powerful. Someone could use this tool and that's all they take from Pellin. That's a possibility. Just the same as someone could learn about true rest and that's all they take from Pellin. But the fullness of the Pellin toolbox is, okay, you know, this is a characteristic way, Peter, you sabotage yourself. And then it's going into memory links. It can't just be in the triangle. Triangle can help, the triangle can take us so far. You know, some people live a good life and succeed without ever doing the memory links work, but it's not me. Yeah. So they fit together, but I feel there's a power in just having the practical, more than practical, but just having the almost existential practicality of accepted and rejected efforts, that jargon. How do I turn that rejected effort into an accepted effort? And then there's the other one, which, yeah, Cynthia.
Well, I was just thinking too, one of the things from my past, and it's actually back to the things that you were saying at the very beginning, and I'm actually very glad that I asked you to finish, because the whole thing about getting too caught up in the goal was actually, and even before, I think it was Mary who did it in a newsletter talking about protecting accepted effort, was by not doing it too long. Both of those were eye-opening, because to me, from the Swedish and Protestant work ethic, and if you're working toward a goal, you should be doing it so many hours a day, and taking breaks is what do you mean you need a break after, but just even, and I think that's one way I have in the past that maybe I don't need to worry about carrying over to the future. I don't know, but like one of the things that I've been learning, and I'm trying to uh I often get hung up when I'm thinking about what to do in the moment by what's the most important thing I have to do right now. And maybe it might be a more rejected effort or something I've been doing for a long time, but something else I really want to do. Oh, no, I can't do that until I do this. And now I'm learning to say, well, okay, well, what do I want? Actually, it was my spouse who said that when I was in a tizzy, because I had a whole lot of things and everything was important to do now. She's like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, what do I want to do? Oh gosh, I never even thought of that as one of the things in terms of making decisions about what I'm going to do in the moment. What do I feel like I want to do? Um, so yeah, I don't know, but and I'm wondering in my own thing about, you know, well, and also getting focused on the goal and what's the priority towards that goal, because that's what I was taught. At least that's what I believed you were supposed to do, and that was how you got things done. But it's I'm going into it, I'm getting a little disorganized, but yeah, that whole concept, I've been trying to work with this in terms of the tasks I need to get done, that doing something for a half an hour and doing it before I get, even if it's something that's high priority, because I think, if it's high priority, well, I had to get, I'm already late on this, and I can't just spend a half an hour. So then I don't spend any time. And I finally had to just say, wait a minute, spending a half an hour is actually getting closer than doing nothing, you know,
Yeah.
and just changing that whole, um, changing that whole attitude, I think is, and you're saying that, and that was actually, that was like a light bulb IR, like genius, saying like, oh, focusing too much on the goal is another way to destroy an accepted effort. That's not something I had never even considered.
No, and I think that's, that's something about the really strong and unusual quality of David Pellin's mind. Okay. Over and over again, and Mary and I often sort of talk about this, we've got this great stuff, right? And I'll often say, is this as good as I think it is? Or is this anywhere else in the literature? And it's not. And there's something about, not focusing on the goal too much. One thing he said about this, and I guess maybe I'm just having a thought that's, part of the year of David is the year of reintroducing the triangle. And one thing he said, there are no lazy people. They're just people who've not found their accepted efforts. And there's just something I like about that so much. I mean, yes, he made his other statements. He can make strong statements on the negative side. He could also make strong statements on the positive side. And in teaching this, I remember he gave the example, and this was teaching the triangle. He just used the example of someone whose refrigerator is terrible and needs cleaning out. He said, okay, I'll go and do it for them. And then it gets messy again. I'll go and do it again. And then it gets messy again. I'll go and do it again. There's no lazy person. There's just the person. So this person hasn't made cleaning out the fridge an accepted effort. And I feel the statement, there are no lazy people. They're just people who haven't found their accepted efforts, is just extraordinarily powerful. And if you take, and one of the things you can, one of the things we say is if you want to control someone, get their pendulum swinging, okay? But another thing is, if you want to control someone, if you want to hold somebody back, take away their accepted efforts, okay? Take them away. So if queuing up, lining up to vote is going to take 5 hours, someone's made that an accepted effort. And someone comes in and brings them water and food. And that connection between that reinforces the accepted effort of standing in line for 5 or 6 hours to vote. We'll take that away. We'll literally, in Georgia, we will take away the water and the food. Hence, you are breaking the law if you give people who are queuing up to vote food or water, literally. And that fits with this, keep them, make voting a rejected effort. They won't vote, you win. And we on the other side, everything that happens, you could see, everything around Stacey Abrams, who not so well known in England, who's the person in America who's organizing the voting stuff better than anybody else, and she's in Georgia. And I think it relates to the triangle. It stunned me when I heard her say this. She said, it's not about registering people to vote. That's not the way you set up a program. You set up a program, you educate them in the importance of voting. That's what you do first. And it's almost not having the goal of we're going to register 100,000 people. No, we're going to educate 100,000 people. So the goal is, I just think it's an example of what this work's about. And if you analyze sort of, voting in England or voting demonstrations in England, about the woman who was killed by the cop, by the people who are demonstrating against climate change, recent demonstrations. If you look at them, you can see a whole lot of things they do to keep this an accepted effort, okay? You could almost say, you could almost sort of feel it is, okay, well, it's going back some years, a number of years, more than 50 years, but we will see civil rights arms, and that will make this an accepted effort, because we won't be able, because if we just go into our fear of being bombed, Montgomery, Alabama, yeah, Cynthia.
Well, I was just thinking actually in a more positive way to try to I don't know if it's positive or negative, but one of the things that they wanted to, that I know President Biden was talking about with the problem of the filibuster, which is making it really difficult to get anything passed in the Senate, and saying, well, we don't need to get rid of it. We just need to take it back to what it was, to where you actually had to stand up and talk rather than,
Yeah,
and as a comedian was saying, yeah, he doesn't want to get rid of it. He just wants to make it more annoying again.
Yeah, exactly. Make an effort. No one will want to do it. You're right. The way I think where I want to take this, and I like, reintroducing David Pellin's triangle, because I haven't used it for years and years. I think it's just sort of making it ordinary. The way we talk about the pendulum. When we talk about the pendulum, we don't think about every single bit of it. We just think, oh my God. At times, oh my God, it's my pendulum. Or I'm just low, or I'm going to get high. I'm teaching stuff and I'm going to interrupt everybody, or whatever. We just sort of bring the pendulum in. We take it out of the toolbox. We bring it in. I think there's some, but we know, there's all sorts of details and theory in it. And I think we can get to the point where it's somewhat similar to the triangle. When we're saying, oh my God, the triangle, rejected effort, or the triangle, I've got to assess that goal. It just becomes sort of ordinary. It's, I guess, a familiar tool. The tool that's familiar, so it almost becomes part of us. And I think many of us have got that with the pendulum. I want us to get it with the triangle. And then it's almost, you almost sort of play with the tool that's very, very, very familiar. Pick it up and do something with it. And sometimes it's just saying, this triangle's too big, I've got to make it shorter. I'm sorry, I've got to make it smaller, which is Mary's constant feedback to me as an advisor. Small steps, Peter, small steps, smaller triangles. And it's just a use of it. And if I think of smaller triangles, and I think, oh yeah, I could do that bit, I could do that bit. But when it's a sort of big triangle with a big goal, it's almost like I'm never going to get there. Do you want to come in at all, Nikki?
Thank you. I find accepted and rejected actions really useful. I'm just distracted now because I was just thinking of an example to do with a friend of mine, which is kind of the opposite thing of what I would have said earlier, which is about me. Because, me, I'm all about such extreme rejected efforts starting out in life because of memory length, intensive, repeat. memory links, debilitating me, kind of thing. So once I learned about accepted efforts years ago, I could just see it completely. I completely agree with him about there's no laziness. And I knew I wasn't lazy. I knew I just couldn't do things. I'm still the same, only less bad. Anyway, so I just know that, I had no idea at the time how many years of me just protecting my accepted efforts, which means hardly, doing the absolute minimum of doing, and then doing the one thing I could do that was an accepted effort, which was, personal therapy, and writing is how, endless amounts of effort into that, but it was a positive result. Anyway, doing loads of journaling protects me to enable me to do some amount of necessary action in the material world. So that's about me. But the thought, the memory, I was distracted by a friend of mine told me once, when she was young, and she was really messed up, but also really naive about the world. And she was she's English. She was in America. I think she was traveling from one state to another, or it might have been, she might have just arrived there or something. And she's black, and she's like really politically black. So she'll wear a Bob Marley T-shirt and maybe a big red, gold and green hat sometimes. And she's not even Jamaican. But that was her sort of stance in things. And so, of course, she got stopped at customs. And she was just naive, just really naive about the world. She grew up in horrible, racist, white area only. So she didn't, there was just so much she didn't know. So she was stopped and she was searched, and she didn't have anything, of course, because she knew she was messed up enough. She was never going to take drugs, and she said that to them, and then of course they didn't believe her, and then she was kept there waiting for hours, and she didn't understand at the time. It was years later when she realised, oh, they thought she was high on something. That's why she was behaving so peculiarly. Sort of out of sync with what they were expecting. And so they were just waiting for the drugs to wear off. And she wasn't on any drugs. So what she did, this is a long background story to her bit of, she thought just trying to relieve the boredom, and she didn't know why she was waiting. And but I would say making the waiting into an accepted effort. She said to the woman cop who was just standing malevolently in the doorway with her the whole time, she said, oh, well, since we seem to be waiting here a long time, I'll read you some of my poems. And these poems, I know what her poems are like. They're so radical. Anti-racism, anti-sexism, anti-abuse of all types, really sort of extreme, crazy seeming to straight kind of world. Anyway, I find it really funny. But that was her. I just suddenly thought of it in relation to that was making that actually horrible situation into an accepted effort, and then regaling me with laughter years later as she looked back and realised what they were intending, what their intention was, and then, as I would now call it, making the rejected effort into an accepted effort. Just turned it around. I mean, goodness knows what those people then ended up thinking, because they had to let go. They had to accept that she wasn't carrying any drugs. She wasn't on any drugs. She was just unusual. That was that, and off she went.
No, thanks for the example, because I think it's really relevant. And I think this is, again, a way, you know, we can plonk just about anything in the pendulum, right? You just sort of bring the pendulum and say, oh, that's good. And I wanted to be able to sort of plonk anything in the triangle. And I feel you're sort of absolutely right there, Nikki. And I think people out of it's almost a place, I'm not saying always, but it's a place where pride has a place in people holding on to their accepted efforts or turning their rejected efforts into accepted efforts. And I think that sort of happens. You know, somehow other people make it an accepted effort. In extreme situations, I mean, the Italian film, Life is Beautiful, La Bella Vita, you know, that's a father making being in the concentration camp an accepted effort for his little boy. That's what the film's about. And I think people do that. You know, they make impossible situations accepted efforts. It happens. And so it's a tool that's got these really subtle uses, like, you know, what are the gimmicks? You know, I want to say this with slowness and respect, that people can make, you know, people who have to listen to the trial and, you know, the horribleness of it. You know, George Floyd, the fear he'll get off. Huge rejected effort. And I guess people have got to, I guess, sharing tears at times is a way people, and again, I won't say with respect, but find a way to turn a rejected effort into an accepted effort because they're crying together. That's sort of visible. So, you know, it's got a lot of application. There was something, you know, again, as I've said in David's mind, that he didn't do with it what I'm doing. You know, he just sort of put it out. He didn't live that long after he developed the material, really 6, 7 years. Obviously, been in his mind longer, but that's not known. It was the least in terms of what I've done with what's called Pellin. He was one of the least transparent people I've ever met. But there's something about his mind that this thing that he developed around, you know, getting dropout kids to go finish their high school. I mean, that's where it came from, and that's in the film. You know, you can see it there. You know, has he get these kids? Well, he taught them something. A bit, you could say he had a set of values or set of ways of thinking that's like Stacey Abraham. You know, first you educate them. And don't kid you, what she says, don't kid yourself, you're going to get anyone unless you do that. They have to understand that their vote means something. And you've got to put the education into that. I mean, I think she's stunned a whole lot of clever people who think they know about politics, like me, when she made that statement. And I guess, you know, David made, how do you put anything in to help these young people, young adults, get through, finish their high school. And then your example, Nikki, how do I get through this, which anyone would find scary? U.S. immigration pressure, or I guess when you're in one of those immigration waiting rooms, it must feel like halfway to prison. Must have that sense. And your friends sort of, look, could I read you my poem? It's a bit like
it wasn't could I will. Since we're here, I'll read you some of my poems.
Yeah.
And that woman didn't know what she was going to get.
Yes, yeah. So I think, well, I think what I'd like to do Wednesday is stay with this, because I want us to get inside of it. So I want Wednesday just to be a discussion. And maybe we could all think of some examples of protecting, except how do we protect accepted efforts and change our rejected efforts into accepted efforts. And if we could all bring examples to that meeting. And I guess I'd just like to, ground it in just lots of examples. Because I think, when we can talk about, getting through high school, Nikki's example of the immigration, or, Tamara's example of, the guy who wants to erode or bust up his relationship. Do you want to come in at all, Mary?
No, thanks. Not at the moment.
Okay. Well, finish up there. I guess I feel it's a very, very powerful tool. It's got wide applications. And I think it's got the characteristic of, I call it David's mind, because the, I'll be open here. But the phrase I want to use is unsung genius, but I know that's a sort of cliche. So I look around to find something, a bit tighter, like his mind is tighter than, the pendulum, the triangle can't do anyone any harm, it's not gonna do somebody in at all. Not gonna do any harm. At its absolute worst, it's been benign. Someone said, well, I'm not that interested in that. And, that's fine. I don't want to listen to Mike Jagger, and some people adore Mike Jagger. That's all right. Okay. Finishing up there. So let me just go over that. Wednesday is examples of rejected, maybe just examples of rejected efforts and accepted efforts. Because one of the things I wanted to say then, and I meant to say more today, and I just forgot. The first stage in working with rejected efforts is just to accept it's a rejected effort. Almost accept it's a rejected effort use the jargon and postpone going into the memory links. It's not saying they're not there, but postponing them. Okay. Finishing up, I'm Peter, and I'm in Norfolk, in England, and it's still light, and it's 7:30 in the evening. Nikki will go geographically.
I'm Nikki in Wimbledon, and the sky's even still a bit blue.
Okay. Cynthia.
Cynthia in Kankakee, and it is 1:30, and it is still beautiful, perfect weather, which is
Okay.
something to treasure here.
And Tamara.
Tamara in San Francisco.
And Mary.
I'm Mary in Rosarito Beach, just after 11:30.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming, and watch this space. Okay. Bye-bye.
Right, bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.